So I'm Becca Allured. I do public information and outreach for the Governor's Office of Energy. I've been in the field of public relations for 15 years now. I'm a graduate of this school. And I'm also on the board of the Sierra Nevada chapter of PRSSA.
Yes.
Just making sure that was all of it.
And you're an APR.
And I'm an APR, and I have 2 really cute dogs. Those are all the important bits.
My name is Contreras. I graduated in 2017. I'm actually from the College of Business, but I spent most of my college life in here for PRSSA. I was the VP of programming. I was the VP of the whole chapter, as well as I feel like I'm forgetting one. Membership, yeah.
And you started with the conference.
Yeah. Or no, not with the conference.
Weren't you?
I was a sophomore and I joined as promotions, and then I did programming, and then I was vice president. I did help heavily with a regional conference that we were able to help put on, and I did the programming for that whole conference. I oversaw that whole committee. After I left from here, I was a store department manager for the South Reno Target. I was there for a year. And then from there, went to Access Event Solutions, where I worked as an account manager for their music and entertainment. So I worked heavily with music festival coordinators, store managers, a lot of interesting personalities there too. And when I was there with COVID, I actually pivoted myself into doing all their marketing. So I self-taught myself Google Analytics, SEO, all the fun digital marketing things. And then from there, because of COVID, was let go, and then found a new home with OCG Creative, where I am a field strategist there now. So,
what is OCG?
It stands for On Call Graphics, but they are a marketing agency here in Reno.
Yeah. I also have agency experience.
Lots of agency experience.
Yeah, I have experience at 2 different agencies, 1 nonprofit and 2 state government departments. So,
I'm the faculty advisor, Allison Golden, and the public relations senior lecturer for the Reynolds School and the PRSSA faculty advisor. I've won all the awards that there are to win from PRSSA, which is humbling and a humble brag at the same time. And then I've also managed the internship program and hired lots of people, so I've seen a bazillion resumes.
So you're also an APR and a fellow.
I'm an APR and a fellow PRSSA. Yes.
Just because you're students doesn't mean that you don't have opportunities to get experience, whether that's through internships or through working, in PRSSA on the board, or even if you're not on the board, get on a committee to help plan something, have something to show for it, for sure. Because even in your internship search, which I don't know if you all are there yet, but you need an internship to graduate, they're going to want to see experience like that.
That's one thing. What's the other?
I would say, so kind of piggybacking off of that, even if you're working, I know a lot of people have, waitressing jobs, or you're a barista, trying to find a way of incorporating what you do there into how that can benefit into what you're applying for, trying to find a way of molding that into that. Mm-hmm. Because oftentimes I think we tend to look at something and we're like, oh, well, I don't know how this would correlate. And the way I try to see every opportunity I've taken, because I've worked in a variety of different industries. I worked in government. I've interned for the Social Security Administration. I interned in retail. I try to find something within each of those positions that I did to take with me to my next opportunity, and to kind of assess, okay, yeah, I may not have been doing everything task-wise that this job is requiring me, but I can use other soft skills and experiences that I've, customer service. A lot of you, if you end up in agencies, trust me, you're going to be working with some personalities, because I do on a daily basis. And So from working in the land of retail, I learned how to handle certain situations and how to bring people off of ledgers. And so I don't think you should ever kind of minimize those jobs. Try to find a way of working that to your advantage. Yeah.
Especially if it shows that you're good in a crisis.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was separate in retail for 5 years, and I eventually moved on to HR. And so I did a lot of communications work and even like nonprofit work and stuff at the store.
HR is internal comms.
Exactly.
In a way.
Yep.
Another thing to make sure you do on your resume is, don't focus on what you did, focus on what you accomplished.
Yeah.
So
Results.
Yeah, your results, especially if you have something measurable. If it's that you in customer service, if it's that you helped X amount of people at once, or if you have experience managing budgets, that kind of thing, that's all applicable in the field of public relations.
So we have students here who have done fraternity sorority work, so you can talk about any of the programs that you've managed.
Events.
We serving on the board, this would be something you would also put on your resume, and then kind of your accomplishments. So your objectives of, if you're the programming chair, that you arranged 10 programs over the course of a year-long academic year, whatever, and with quality APRs or something, like you could just each time add to that. So that's 3.
I did that.
You did do that.
And it's not about resume, but when you are applying for jobs, always make sure you're tailoring your cover letter to the opportunity that you're applying for. Most often you probably don't need to tailor your resume for a specific job. Maybe later in your career you might want to do that, but always tailor your cover letter to the job opportunity. Do we have to have 5?
Yes.
Journalism 101, don't make it any longer than it needs to be. Say what you need to say on your resume. More is not better.
So true.
I know a lot of people say that it has to be 1 page. I don't think that's a hard, fast rule necessarily, but for you all, I would definitely keep it to 1 page just because you're about to start out in your career. So if you have, look at it strategically, right? Like your retail experience versus your PRSSA experience. You want to play up the items that are relevant for the job that you're applying for and not necessarily worry about the other stuff. What questions do you all have about applying for jobs and your resume, building your resume?
Well, I'll tell you, this last week was the first time I made a resume in probably like 3 or 4 years. And I was thinking, like, what do people really want to see on it? You've got the classic, like, experience, education, references. Really, like, what do people keep putting on a resume that you're like, no one cares anymore?
That's a good question. So I don't care about references on a resume. If I want references, I'll ask for them, and just send them separately. But that's like prime real estate on your resume for other people's names, frankly. So I don't think that needs to be on your resume. And, again, like we were talking about before, you have to be choosy with what goes on. And, if it shows something, right? Like if it shows longevity, even if it's not in the right field, keep it on, but you don't need to keep a ton of information about it if it's not relevant skills, right? But be selective about what goes on there. I don't care if you made coffee unless you can tell me how that applies. Like I kept Starbucks on my resume for a really long time, way too long. And I didn't need to. But it showed, I was a supervisor, so it showed management skills before I actually had management skills in my career. So, there was a reason for it. As far as
Depends on where you are, I think, in your career.
yeah, depends on where you are and where you're applying
Yeah.
to. But yeah, you can ditch the references if they want them. They'll ask for them.
I was like, I've never called a reference.
I call references. My God, yeah. No, I definitely call them.
When I leave the resume, I don't use it as, I guess, a
Yeah.
decider if I'm gonna.
Yeah. But That being said, always be aware that when people are looking at your resume, if they see that you work somewhere or they know someone,
they will ask.
they're going to call. That's happened to me before. I didn't list this person as a resume, but the person that I was applying with knew them from their Rotary Club, and that phone call was made. So just be aware that that could happen.
Especially if you're applying here in Reno.
Yeah. Oh my God, it's such a small town.
It happens to me all the time. Since I'm a professor for the vast majority of you, they're like, "What do you think of this one?" You say nice things, just so we're clear, but they do ask whether you put me on your resume or not. Some things I would say you don't need to put on your resume. You'll see some templates that suggest putting an objective. An objective is a waste of time. It's always the nicest way you can say, "Please hire me."
Yeah.
So don't.
Yeah.
You don't need to put your mailing address anymore.
Mm-hmm.
It will prevent you from getting to places you want to go if you want to leave town. Instead, put your social handles all across, your contact information and your social that you're willing to share, but know that they're going to look anyway.
Yeah, they're going to look anyway. Put your email address, but make sure, it's not like little cutie 2004. Make sure it's professional. Just your name.
Sounds really specific.
I have a cousin who is 40 years old who still uses likes to chew gum at AOL. There's all kinds of things wrong with that, but yeah.
Or try to get savvy and put a QR code on there. Please make sure the QR code works.
Ooh, yeah, that'd be bad.
And I see a lot of people design their resumes as opposed to just using a template in Word. There's nothing wrong with the template in Word. Simpler is better. Don't over design it, and always have somebody look at it. Whether if you have a mentor through PRSA or PRSSA, or
They're getting signed up with them.
okay. Oh, good. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, and if you get a mentor through PRSSA, stay in touch with that person. I know we're veering way out of resume territory, but those relationships can be so valuable to you. But if you get matched up with a mentor and then disappear off the face of the earth, we remember. Just know that.
Yeah, it's true.
We've actually got another question. Speaking of mentors and history and whatever. So people extend their references. You do want to include obviously work experience. Do you want to put in internship experience?
Oh, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Any applicable intern, even if it's, so for a long time I did IMC here at the Reynolds School, and for a long time, that was on my resume because it was some of the biggest work that I had done, from like a strategic standpoint. So
that would be really when you can plug any mentors you had or anything too, I suppose.
On your resume?
Well, and like an internship or something too.
Yeah, I mean, you would include them as a reference. Like I said, if you apply for a job and on your resume you had an internship somewhere where I know that person who probably supervised you, I'm going to call them anyway. That's the God's honest truth. It's just how it works.
So you don't need to put the, supervisor was Becca Allard.
Yeah.
You're, again, like Becca said, you're wasting retail to talk about you. This is how you make yourself shine. And you want to look at what is the job that you're applying for, ask for, and what on your list shows management, organization, whatever the attributes are, what do you have that matches that?
Sure.
Don't use personal pronouns. So I did this, I did that, I accomplished this other thing over here. The whole thing is about you, so to read something that Becca has written to me that says, I did this and I did that, I get really sick of Becca.
Yeah, I know.
Not that I ever
But if you did.
Yeah,
But we already know that you're the one that did it. So
right.
it doesn't
Right. And it's a bulleted list,
Yeah.
right? So if it's like, produced and delivered weekly e-newsletters to 2,000 subscribers. You know, it doesn't need to be like a narrative.
Right.
You know, it's just bullets. It's stats. It's your stats. It's your score sheet. You know,
Oh, that's a nice way to say it.
Simple,
It's just
succinct, concise.
yeah. But I can't stress enough. Like, make sure you have somebody more experienced than you. Take a look at it. You know, somebody in the field. You have access to a lot of great people, especially if you get matched up in the mentoring program. You know, and I don't have any cards, or else I would have brought them with me. But you know, I always make myself available. So I'm easy to find on the internet.
Some of you might, you know, Jess, it sounds like you've had a lot of jobs there and Jackie because you are, you know, been around the sun a couple of times. You might have a lot of jobs, and so typically you do chronological work. But if you've had 5 jobs in retail, for example, you can just list, you know, because once you've done retail, you've done retail. Once you've done wait serving, you've done food service, right? So you can just list them and then kind of highlight if you moved up in management or you've done some of those. So you might put your resume by skill sets rather than chronologically to show the breadth of, why are you 30-something and just now graduating?
Kind of like cater your previous jobs with the industry or the field that you're applying for in the resume. If that matters.
Right.
So,
Yeah, so it's a little different, but you know, it gets the job done without having to be this long list. What do you think about job hopping and how long they should stay?
Ooh, that's a good question.
good one. What does it look? When does it look bad? To job hop or something?
So there's a lot of different reasons, right, why someone might job hop. I wouldn't worry about like a job hop. You know, you start somewhere. If you were only there for 6 months and didn't get anything out of it, maybe just don't even include it on your resume, you know, depending on the reason why you left. But you know, if it was like 9 months here, a year there, 6 months here, like repeated job hopping is concerning to me because that shows, you know, either you can't commit to a job or, you know, personality issues or whatever, you know, because you're the common denominator in all of those positions. So, you know, a job hop is not a big deal, but many.
Your last 3 job hops.
Yeah, many is a red flag. If they're internships, that's one thing, because internships are typically 3 to 6 months long, you know, but you would denote that that's an internship.
On that, then, like, if there is gaps, how do you want to see those gaps, like, explained, or if at all?
I don't know that you need to unless you're asked. Be prepared to answer it. You know, hey, I noticed that you weren't working from A to B, period. You know, just explain, be prepared to explain it. I don't think you need to account for it on your resume.
And
Especially if it's not in chronological, if you're not laying it out in chronological order and it's more so skill set based, then
It doesn't even matter.
and I think in particular with the pandemic, a lot of people lost their jobs. So there's going to be phases of time where people just get it. Right? So it's not even going to be an issue. Yeah, it's the 5 every 6 months where you can't seem to stay. That is the challenge. But and even you get 1 or 2 after college, people give you a pass because you're figuring it out. You don't know how to interview them as much as they interview you.
this isn't really a resume, I guess in a sense, but when you guys are looking into like positions, I do highly recommend doing as much research as you can on that company's culture. Something can sound cool on paper and their website could be amazing and it looks great, but I would definitely use Glassdoor and see what people are saying about it. Or if, like we mentioned, Reno's a small town, you can always ask around and see if anyone has ever known anyone that's worked there. And if you can do like an informational, like quick interview with them and just ask them like, hey, how was it like? Did you like it there? Like as much as they're willing to obviously like tell you. But so informational interview. So I actually would recommend this to you guys even now. If there is somewhere that you guys kind of see like that's somewhere I would want to work. I was a big stalker in college, not in a weird way. But I did research on LinkedIn, and if there was a company where maybe it was a local company, I would go see who would work there, and I would just send out messages sometimes, or if I could see that we had common connections, I would reach out to whoever that common connection was. If it's somebody that I knew, then I would say, hey, I noticed like, you're LinkedIn connected with this person. Would you mind like doing, an introduction? And in that informational interview, you would just ask, what's your position there? How long have you been there? What made you want to go to that company? What does it look like working there? What's the culture like? And kind of just different things that you want to know about the company. And then also it kind of shows that person, because I got a job that way. It shows that person that you actually took the time to look into their company and that you actually can see yourself being there, or that you actually took the initiative to want to reach out to someone and find out more about that.
And it's easier to do when you're still a student too, yes. Because if you're not still a student, then their immediate assumption is just going to be you're trying to find a job and I don't have a job for you, so I don't want to get your hopes up. But if you just say like, hey, I'm a student and I want to learn about what you do, we like to talk about what we do.
Take advantage of being a student for sure.
I actually just did something similar. So I was on Indeed because I was looking for another job, and I saw the Sierra and Sage hair extensions, and I saw that Emily Evans works there. Mm-hmm. And so I texted her because we've had every journalism class together, and she just told me like how much she loves it and how the work environment is, and so now we work hand in hand. Nice. I do like more like the blog and like the website marketing. She does the social media, so it's cool that I had her to tell me like what the job's like, and not just what was on Indeed and LinkedIn. Right. Yeah. So, and it's fun working with someone that's like my age and, we did the same classes I did. We have the same like kind of background, which is really cool.
Also take advantage of things like, opportunities to get real world experience while you're still in school, like Bateman. Emily was one of the Bateman participants last year, or IMC. I know a lot of you guys are close to graduating, so you might be past the window where you can sign up for those things, and they're hard and they're grueling, but oh my god, are they worth it? Because people like me see that on a resume, and I have very close experience. I did IMC, I mentored Bateman for 3 years. I know how hard those students work, and automatically that brings people to the top of my pile.
Yes, that board leadership. Mm-hmm. When you're on the board, that will, because we know what it's like to run a board and run programs and try to get people in the room, and so that's also a big one.
What is IMC and Bateman?
Oh, sorry. Okay, so IMC
so
is welcome to the J School. IMC is the integrated marketing competition, and that goes through the American Advertising Federation. So it's PR and ad students, and it's also business school students that, it's like, I don't know how big the teams are. Back in my day, it was like 30 students, but I don't think
it's 20 to 30 depending on the group.
And so it's a national competition, right? The American Advertising Federation gets a client, or a client sponsors it, I think. And so you've got teams from all over the country that are putting together basically a pitch. They spend a semester researching and a semester putting together their pitch. They don't actually implement it because it's like big deal clients like Coca-Cola was the
Last year it was Twitter.
Last year it was Twitter.
No, not Twitter. Tinder.
Oh, Tinder.
Oh, starts with a T and so
it's very different. Big clients. Coca-Cola, and so the incentive for the sponsor is they get a bunch of free advertising ideas, right? And so you compete with other students. You compete at a regional level, and then if you win there, your team competes at a national level. Bateman is a similar competition, but much smaller team, which is frankly more like real life. It's a team of 4 or 5. It's through the Public Relations Student Society of America at a national level. And again, same client competing with, student teams from throughout the country, but you actually implement the work and you have 4 weeks exactly to implement that work. And it's usually some kind of cause or public.
It has been
Something.
lately.
Yeah, lately it's been.
Yeah, there's not really a product. It's usually a nonprofit.
Yeah. So
Issue.
it's been like, veterans in the past. And then last year was civility. There was a diversity topic one year. So, but they actually implement the work in the community. And so they all, have results to show. So again, national competition, very hard work, totally worth it. Because I haven't met students who participate in those things that really have that hard of a time finding a job after college.
No, it does set you apart.
It really sets you apart.
Where do you join in that? Or like where do you start to look into that?
You have to, so for Bateman, you have to have completed 351, so you're a year out. And then ideally you've done 442. Those 2 classes will help you be better at. 351 will get you some stuff, but 442 is better. And you have to be a member of PRSSA, and you have to tell me that you want to do it in October when we announce that it's available. That's all.
For Bateman, I don't know who the advisor is for IMC.
I think it's
Could be
Todd.
Todd. It's Todd.
He said it might be Oculus. Like that.
Ooh.
I know, but he doesn't know he's projecting.
He's projecting his all.
He said it was powered by Oculus, and I was like, that could be anything, man. He's like, I think it's
Doesn't mean you're going to have a hard time finding a job if you don't have those things, but it really does set you apart.
I mean, since we ventured into informational interviews, you guys have bought interview tips, or we've already kind of gone into that realm of things. So if you guys have need tips for even interviewing.
So an informational interview is like an interviewee asking questions. I don't think I've ever done that.
Right.
I mean, I've put together proposals and I
Yeah.
do quotes for people all the time. That's my job now.
Yeah.
But, I didn't realize how succinct that was. Can you ask to do an interview or
Yeah.
an information interview?
Yeah, I mean, you don't even need to call it an informational interview, that's just sort of a succinct way to say it.
Well, so it's just
But it's just like, hey, I admire your work. I'm really interested in, entering into the field of communications or climate, for example, which, by the way, is a lot of what I do for a living. So, I was just wondering if we could have coffee and I could learn more about what you do. That's it. And then come with some interesting questions. Don't come with lame-ass questions. Same goes for when you're doing job interviews too, because there's always a period at the end of the job interview where they want to know if you have any questions for them. Don't say no.
You always have a question. Yeah.
Don't have your only question be about salary or availability or and even to this point, asking about company culture is kind of trite too. Have some good questions. So some of the best questions. Dang, I've heard some really good questions at the end of interviews. But just ask what's an average day like, in this position, or what are your ideal, what's your picture of the perfect candidate for this position?
What would be the top 3 things you would want this person to do when they first get started? What would be their deadlines for success?
Or what's the first year like? That kind of shows that you're interested in longevity, right? One of the questions that I have started asking when I'm interviewing for a job is there anything about me or my resume that you're not sure about that I can address here and now? Right? Because I'm not perfect, and I want to know if you have, and that's certain, in the past, because people have said, well, you don't have any crisis experience. Bless you. So I went and I got crisis experience. So Yeah, informational interview.
And you can Google
It's just coffee.
questions. If you Google questions to ask at the end of an interview, there's ones for questions that you are likely to get from the HR department, and then there are questions that would make you look smart and show that you paid attention. So even if all you do is Google the questions, you're off to a good start.
But yeah, get informational interviews. Get yourself a mentor for sure. You know, whether it's through the professional partner program or continuing to attend stuff like this. And, you know, if you keep coming to PRSSA, you're ultimately going to meet a lot of really cool people besides just me and Laura. You know, and if you connect with somebody and you really want to learn more about them, just jump in and do it. Like, I've been told that I'm intimidating, but I'm actually pretty fucking chill. You know, and I love working with students. I love talking to students. I forgot to share with you that I wrote that blog post that I was telling you about for like the last 6 months about working with them. But yeah, no, I love working with students. We come to this stuff because we like working with students. So take advantage of the fact that you have cool ass people coming to PRSSA stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not just that, we've all been in your guys' shoes.
For
So
sure.
we know that this shit isn't easy. Like, we've all been there.
Yeah.
So,
Some of us more recently than others.
4 years is a lifetime.
oh, trust me, I'm like, oh my God.
The college doesn't look the same. All of these people
Yeah,
look
I
like
like-
they're 20 years younger than you.
Like how we were walking like that building is where the hell did that come from?
And don't wait until you're a senior too. No offense to the graduating seniors in the room. Don't wait until you're about to graduate. The time is now, because there's so much knowledge in this community too. You know, anytime you have the opportunity to go to a PRSA event, and you know, network with the big kids, do it. You know, even if you're nervous, just do it anyway. Or if you have someone that you can go with that might be able to introduce you to people. I am on the board, so I will be at every event. Just come find me and be like, I know her. And just remind me, because I'm learning that I don't recognize people with the mask thing these days.
Especially.
Yeah, go to stuff, man. For sure.
And trust me, you will still keep in contact with your mentors. Rachel Pachuso was my mentor, and I still talk to her and have, you know, asked her for advice when I was at a previous position and was like, how do I handle the situation? I'm so sorry to bother you, but, you know, I was like, I have been asked to do this, and I have a non-polite way of saying that I do not want to do it because I find it unethical, but how do I craft this in a way that I can say it to a higher up and be like, we can't do this because it's unethical. So definitely the mentor program is great.
And there's no limit on the number of mentors you're allowed to have.
No. You'll get assigned them, and it should go for the whole year because that gives you opportunities. But if for some reason your mentor is just too busy, because that'll happen, make sure that we follow up and tell Melissa that it's just wrong. That we need, that you need a new one. I was in PRSSA in 1992, and my mentor was Susan Hill, who to this day is my best friend. She's one of the people that I hang out with. And we're both old. She's retired.
Yeah. So I was paired with Jerry Conrad.
Mhm.
I waited until my senior year to get involved. So, you know, I mean, it's not too late. And I was paired with her. It was actually through Ad Club. Because back in my day, advertising and PR were two separate sequences, and I was in the ad sequence. I didn't actually do PRSSA or the PR sequence, even though my entire career has been in PR. Go figure. But the only person left was somebody at a PR agency, and I was just like, whatever. Like, I need to know somebody. I don't know anybody. So I went and I had basically an informational interview, and then I job shadowed her, and then they had an internship open up, and I worked as an intern for like a year, which I don't think that really happens that much anymore. internship.
Yeah.
Does it? Oh.
Yeah, it does.
And then when I
You do
graduated,
get paid for it now.
yeah. And then I graduated and I got a full-time job and I worked there for 6 years. And I stayed in touch with that person. She was my mentor through all 6 of those years. And then I moved on and I had a couple of different jobs. And then I went back and worked for her somewhere else. That's how I got into the state. And I worked there for 6 more years. And I call her my work mom now, because mentor is just not accurate anymore. But yeah, I mean, and at some point I realized like there's so many amazing people around me, you know, and I just started collecting mentors. Allison is one of them. And people don't have to be, you know, older or more experienced than you to be your mentor either. People that I have mentored have also mentored me. You know, it's friendship, it's relationship. Networking is this like big, weird, scary word, but it's, you know when you connect with people, right? You know, and just grab onto that and just, you know, build a relationship, build a friendship. That's all it is.
Not just that, you guys all connecting with one another.
True.
That's a big deal because, for example, Melissa, her and I still hang out. We talk. When I was looking for a job, she was super awesome, and she saw something, she would send it my way. So, you know, Caroline Ackerman, like, there's so many people that are in PRSSA now that I was in PRSSA with that I still stay connected to this day that are really great friends, but also have helped me in situations where I was looking for a job because of COVID. And so you guys all are each other's connections also, because you guys are all, you know, some people are at different stages. You know, you're a sophomore, you know, you guys are going to graduate. If you guys still connect, they can, you know, wherever they're at and you're interested in going there, you know, you have that connection, or they may know people. So
Yeah, every job I've ever gotten has been because of someone I know. Yeah. So, this field is, you know, introverts can do it, but it's harder.
It's kind of a good lesson to like pick up mentors along the way in every field.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same as it's with friendships, right? Like, no one person can be all things to you. So, like, certain aspects of my career that I need advice on, I'll ask different mentors for. If it's about salary negotiation, I go to Allison.
Oh, really?
You know,
Gotta check them out.
I will help you get that money.
but you know, I mean, it's the same thing. Like, you're going to realize that different mentors provide different things in your life.
Well, there's a few minutes left. Why don't we turn off the camera? Sorry, people who can't be here. We'll just network for a little bit so you can get to know the people and talk to them one-on-one.